Why did they suddenly in the First World War? Suddenly we're fighting total war. The moustache, that was clearly ridiculous, the moustache. So surely they'd think, if we need moustaches, we need them more than ever now. I think it should be beards.
That, they give you a certain, don't they? I think so. But this, yes, sort of moustache is going to win. Thank you. It's going to win a war, isn't it? But as you can see there, that's British soldiers, typical British soldiers, all of them moustache.
I'm just imagining, Stephen, that moustache is going to have its own website by the end of the...
How long do you imagine the longest moustache in the world might be?
24 feet.
Well, that's a little bit too much, actually.
OK.
It's 12. It's 14 feet. Oh. 14 feet. There it is. It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Wow.
I mean, this man makes a living out of it. He was in the film Octopussy, oddly enough. I can't remember what he did with his moustache, but it is... it's pretty impressive.
Do you distrust him?
Deeply. Very... If he turned up to do a bit of woodwork in the house, you know, and he just did, well, I measure 14 feet, well, I must be... I'd naturally feel...
You wouldn't want to stand at a urinal, would you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Trailing around on the floor. He's ringing him out, that's what he's doing.
When you were children, did you have Action Men toys?
Yes.
If I was to show you a picture of an Action Man toy, what could you tell me about this particular one?
Oh, Lord.
That's the Adventurer. Well, the Adventurer just had a polo neck and jeans and boots. He seemed to be kind of a one-man band.
Yes, but this one is a member of an armed service.
Well, it'd be in the Navy.
It would, exactly. The point is it would be the Navy. It's only in the Navy that you're allowed to grow a beard.
Right,
yes. And there are three jolly Jack Tars.
In the Disney Corporation, none of the staff can have facial hair.
Really? In Disney?
Or earrings or anything.
There was a rather good story about Disney some years ago, if you heard about it, but there was a furious email sent out by the head of human resources or whatever to all Disney employees and said, the Disney Corporation takes strong exception to the use by some employees of the phrase Mauschwitz to describe the Disney Corporation. If it is used again, anybody using it will be summarily fired. Within half an hour, they were using the phrase Dachau. It's very pleasing, isn't it?
It's interesting they didn't in any way see the irony of the fact that people had said of using a term, a sort of fascist term to refer to their organisation. Well, we'll put a stop to this.
Yes, I know. Exactly. You might like to see a picture of some interesting moustaches there. And I have what you might call moustacheabilia. These are real things used for people with moustaches that were used in the Great Moustache Growing period. This is simply to drink. It's a little silver, rather beautifully made thing you put in a cup so that you can sip through here without staining your moustache.
Keeps your moustache
keeps your moustache nice and dry. Similarly with soup, you would want a soup spoon. You would just sip through that part there. Oh. So you take your soup like so, and you just... like that. And again, I keep my moustache nice and dry.
Nice and dry.
What else have I got here? And this, you may remember that somebody...
Hadn't invented the straw.
Albert Finney. Albert Finney had something like this, didn't he, in Murder on the Orient Express. This is at night, when you wish to keep your moustache. No. And you put this round your ears, like there, and there.
What's that for, though? I mean, what... you say you want to keep your moustache. Keep your moustache from what?
Escaping.
Wild creatures of the night, I don't know. People who might come and nibble at it in the evenings.
There's a slight air of gimp about it.
There is something a little unusual, isn't there?
The odd thing is that people who are using that spoon and that drink cover, they're people who don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look like a complete arse.
An idiot.
So excuse me when I get out all my paraphernalia for keeping soup off my moustache.
It is true. What you're saying is entirely true. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Well, I'm going to take my moustache off now because it's, causing me rather a lot of pain. Now, this is a question inspired by the International Brigade, who fought, as I'm sure you know, on the Republican side in the Spanish Civil War. Which of these is the odd one out?
Machine
A
gun.
machine gun?
It's a Sten...
A tomato.
Bren gun.
It's a Vickers.
Vickers.
Yep.
You asked which one is the odd one out. They all are.
They're all the odd one out.
Of what?
They kind of are, aren't they? Well, there is a misapprehension about jellyfish. If you're stung by a jellyfish, what are you supposed to do?
Wee on it.
Yes. The odd thing is,
Ammonia.
the jellyfish is the odd one out because it's the only one you're not supposed to wee on.
You're supposed to wee on a tomato.
Yes. Weeing on tomatoes is good, and weeing on
I've
machine...
never been stung by a tomato.
Not for that reason.
I have to say,
Wait
if
a
they'd
minute.
known about the weeing in the First World War, it could have saved a lot of casualties.
Yes, well, it did, actually. They did use them.
After the first wave in the
Gunshot
Somme,
wound.
everyone's following with their cocks out.
It's not quite like that. There's a little more to it, David.
Right.
To get rid of the jellyfish first, it's a fallacy to suggest that you should pee on a jellyfish sting. The best thing you can do is just seawater, which is likely to be around there anyway. Sometimes acid is better than... but you can't be sure unless you know the species, but just leave it alone and use seawater. Tomatoes, well, the fact is the world is running out of phosphorus, and human urine is an extremely good fertiliser for tomatoes.
When you said urinate on tomatoes, I thought you meant instead of salad dressing.
I agree, it was a laxly phrased question. We're quite happy to use animal manure in order to grow things and know that they grow well.
Yes, I know, that's weird, isn't it? But that's because I think we find, and this may be a function of our own self-loathing, we find our own excrement more disgusting than that of other creatures.
Well, speak for yourself. What about the wee in the gun, though? So, why is...
Now, the gun.
Clean
Now, what is
it with the wee.
What is the issue with machine guns?
They kill you dead.
The main thing... Obviously, that...
Dead, Stephen,
I would
dead.
say,
we have here...
A gun? Christ
we have a
alive.
gentleman... We have a gentleman from the Royal Armouries. Welcome,
geez.
sir.
Oh, look at that.
Thank you very much.
He's not going to wee on it, is he?
We did ask if he would. He decided... He
Stephen,
declined.
he's left it unattended. He's left it unattended. Come on.
It's a Mark I Vickers 1917 model, as used in the First World War. They were used by the British Army all the way up to the Korean War. Very, very popular form. But the main problem for the operator of them, aside from them getting jammed occasionally, was overheating. So they had a jacket, and they were water-cooled.
Oh, OK.
But very often, of course, you were fighting in places where there was no water. Now, there's a jerry can at the bottom there. That's not where the water comes from. The water is poured into a hole in the top, and then it sort of condenses and collects in the jerry can. You then reuse it. But in the Spanish Civil War, the phrase "pass the piss" was used, and they would actually fill up jerry cans, and they would use human urine to cool down the guns. It was the only way of doing it, because there was just no water around. Yeah.
So, I see, yes.
Must have been horrible in the trenches, not only the risk of being shot, but then later a very nasty cup of tea.
Yes.
Which jerry can did you use for the...
It's a funny question, isn't it? Because actually Robert Graves, in his great novel Goodbye to All That, claims they used to make tea from the water used in the machine guns. Yeah. Very
But
unpleasant.
that's not necessarily...
Not necessarily pea water.
Because there's no shortage of water
No, there wasn't in the trenches.
in eastern France.
No, it was more... Hence, I was saying it was the International Brigade, particularly in the drier parts of La Mancha.
But they probably made sangria out of it, though.
The Russians actually made a gun with a hole in which to pee. They were so used to the idea that peeing into it would be helpful. They actually gave a little pee hole so that you could pee straight into the gun.
Pee and... So,
Yeah, that's right.
while you're firing the gun...
I don't think this...
Oh, that's good. Oh, I needed that. Surely not. What a relief.
Well, there you are. That's really the answer, I suppose. The jellyfish was the odd one out because it's the only one that isn't improved by being whittled upon. Maybe we can ask our lovely Royal Armouries friend to wheel away his Vickers now. Thank you very much indeed again. Now, what was Italy's biggest export in the year 1953?
Frozen urine.
You've been doing so well. You're in there. We know you, Bill.
Would it be dried pasta?
Oh, I'm sorry. It came from a place called Castelfidardo, and it's an object. It had thousands of parts, a really complex mechanism.
A jigsaw.
In 1954, they were overtaken by Fiat, who then were the biggest exporter from Italy with their cars. But the year 1953, amazingly, it was this object that Italy exported more than anything else. It was a musical instrument, Bill.
A hurdy-gurdy. No, accordion.
An accordion.
An accordion.
Is the right answer.
Yes.
There you are. Rather extraordinary. Yeah. Well, there you are. It's the Italian town of Castelfidardo, which still makes them to this very day and is proud to do so. Now, what did Mussolini want Italians to eat to make them big and strong? Oh. He had a national propaganda day for this foodstuff, and he wanted Italians really to take to it in a big way.
Was it a vegetable? Some sort of...
Not quite a vegetable.
Nuts.
Not nuts, no.
Giant broccoli.
It's something Italians do eat. They have a specialist dish.
Polenta.
Very close. What's a great Italian dish, apart from pasta, obviously?
Macaroni cheese.
Ravioli?
Risotto. Risotto, which is made from...
Rice.
Rice, exactly. And Mussolini wanted to kick Italians off the habit of eating pasta and to get them into the habit of eating rice. And Italians didn't take kindly for this at all. And so here are some paddy fields, some Italian ladies growing rice.
And singing while they do it.
And singing as they did it. And rather extraordinary, he had on his side the Futurists. You probably know about the Futurist movement, which was a bit like...
Not yet.
The Dadaists and the... not yet.
Very good.
Stole those too quick. Yeah. That was brilliant. Yeah, but the Futurists were an art movement, and they were pretty witty. And Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, who was one of the great Futurists, he said that pasta made Italians lethargic, pessimistic and sentimental. And this caused outrage, as I'm sure was his intention. He opened his own restaurant, and he had some extraordinary dishes. I mean, way ahead. I mean, ahead of Heston Blumenthal or anybody like that. Here, this is my favourite one. It's called aero food, all right? Pieces of olive, fennel and kumquat are eaten with the right hand, while the left hand caresses various pieces of sandpaper, velvet and silk. All the while, the diner is blasted with a giant fan and sprayed with the scent of carnation to the music of Wagner. Isn't that a dish? I think somebody should have the guts and the wit to open a Futurist restaurant again. There are other ones. There was chicken fiat. A chicken is roasted with a handful of ball bearings inside. When the flesh has fully absorbed the flavour of the mild steel balls, chicken is served with a garnish of whipped cream. And there's one called the Excited Pig. A whole salami, skinned, is cooked in strong espresso coffee and flavoured with eau de cologne.
I think you've been to motorway services.
I quite like the idea of a chicken that tastes a bit of metal.
Yes.
Well, I love the idea of stroking something while you're
Isn't
eating.
it? Using all your senses. Have you ever been to one of those... there's one in Berlin I went to, restaurants where it's completely dark. All the waiters are blind. And they lead you to your table.
Yes.
They recite the menu to you, and you order the food, and it's put in front of you, and you often use your fingers as much as anything. And basically, it just concentrates you entirely on the taste of the food. I know it sounds a bit weird, but it is a fantastic experience. I mean, I'm not saying you should go there every night. I really,
in the kitchen as well, with chefs wandering around with no fingers.
I get stressed in restaurants when the waiters don't write down your order. You know, when they say, no, we're a cool restaurant, we can remember it. And you sort of go, well, can you remember it? You surely remember it. Because this is specifically what I have to eat.
Yeah.
If I want to torture my mother, which may say so...
Then it's a free country.
In a
Do what
restaurant...
you like, Wing Commander.
In a restaurant, she'll say, so what are you going to have? And you'll say, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell the waiter. Right. Oh, no, darling, tell me, what are you going to have?
Right, waterboarding for you, Mother.
But there are people who can't bear it unless they know what everyone else is going to order.
Yeah.
So it does drive my mother slightly potty not to tell her.